Hey, so gonna try and start resuming these again. Kind of decided took a little sabbatical there for a while. I was some stuff was just starting to catch up with me, and I wasn't doing the best job of managing it. Have you ever done speed training for running? The way I was trained was you just find a steep hill and you just run down it and do your best to just keep your feet underneath you. Because it's real easy to get top heavy and then just roll down the rest of the hill. And felt like that's kind of what I started doing, was just starting to lean too far forward and just not staying balanced enough with everything. So I talked to a couple people, a couple different friends, got their input, and they're like, just take a break for a little while. Just work on you. Just do your thing for a little while. Cut the amenities. Just catch up with yourself. So I did. Kind of took a while to really get my bearings. Like, I know I did one of these, I don't know, a couple months ago now. I don't remember when the last one before that was. But yeah, as far as regularity now, we'll see. I'm gonna try and get back to Tuesdays. It just kind of depends on things at work, but we'll get there. Figure something out. I'm not gonna go play hide and seek without telling anybody else. Because that's what I feel like I did last time. And this was something that I've been wanting to pick up again for a while. And there was a couple other things I need to wrap up first, and then just kind of focus on getting my rest back and just putting myself together. And I was wanting to do this a couple days ago. I said, well, I got really nothing to say. But it just kept coming up to do one of these. I was like, I got nothing to say. So I can do this Tuesday, but I got nothing to say. Yes, I could squeeze it in Wednesday if I need to. Maybe if I had something to say. And it brings us to today, and here we are. I was just thinking last night, I said, man, I still don't know what to say. Nothing's really coming to mind, but I can't keep putting it off. So I quit putting it off. As far as where things are at now, I was just getting so caught up in just concerns about stuff, just thinking about tomorrow, the inevitable tomorrow, later. And it was just really, really starting to weigh me down and take a toll on me. I was just starting to lose my imagination to it all the time. And it was really, really starting to mess with me. And that was when my friends were like, just take a break. Just, we miss who you used to be. So that's what I've been working on. And then I would just kind of, how you just kind of hit a new perspective in life? Like I saw in the news, there was these sunglasses that they give to colorblind people, and they can see this full spectrum of colors. And just seeing life, seeing God in with a little more color than before. A little less black and white, a little less gray, a little more color, a little more life. That's kind of where I feel like I've been, just trying to get my bearings from that. How you just want to just sit there and bask in it for a while. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately, just trying to figure out where exactly I am. Because I used to be, I got plenty of people that'll vouch for this. I used to be really, really uptight about things. Like, I just very regimented and very goal oriented. And God help somebody that gets in the way. Because when I set something I want to do, I just go for it. Just all out. Usually to my own detriment. That was why I had to put off the starting this up again for a couple weeks longer. But it was just kind of that's how some people just have gotten to know me, was that was the anal retentive Pete. And that's something I've just been able to let go of here lately. Just more of the temper, the temperament of being on edge more than I needed to. Feeling like I needed to have more control over this or that. And now it's just kind of, it's not that I don't care, it's that I'm trying to focus on, it's like I'm playing hopscotch with God, and I'm trying to just jump to the next square and just stay in line. That's really where I feel like I'm at. I'm not trying to look 4 squares ahead and miss the one right in front of me. I feel like I was able to really rein myself in. And I don't know how to put words to it until today. I was at work this morning, just kind of doing my thing. And whoever was did the job that I did today, whoever did it yesterday, sucked. It was terrible. And I was starting to get, I was getting pretty hot about it. So I was trying to just count to 4, breathe in, count to 4, not get too worked up about something that stupid anymore. Because it seemed almost foreign then. So finally I was like, God, how do I change this? What do I do? God's like, well, just look ahead. I said, but God, this guy just sucks all the time. Yeah, look ahead. Does he suck tomorrow? Well, he sucked yesterday, and probably the day before that, and probably the day before that. Does he suck tomorrow? What? God, I don't know. Then he starts having this parent to child lecture about forgiveness. Just real quick though, just a little synopsis of it. Then I started whining to God about it because, I love what a good sport God is when I'm as ignorant as I was about how selfish I was being. When I'm not ignorant about it, he's not such a good sport. But, he's just playing along with me, just knowing his point was going to overrule mine. So I was complaining about just the habitual cleaning up, doing the job of one of my superiors at work, this guy. And then finally God just pulls out the big guns. He said, hey, how much better were you when I came along? Tried to help you out. You can't even say anything after that. You're like, well, I was a monster. I don't know why you put up with me. I don't know how you put up with me, but you did. So thanks. I learned a lot about how to interact with people just from how God interacted with me. And just paying that forward. If God's the one that defines grace and patience and kindness and compassion and love, he'd be the best example to learn from, I'd guess. And he's been all those to me. And I've been trying to emulate that. So, as far as today, God finally got his point across, and I was able to shut up and just kind of loose myself of that stuff. But every once in a while, I'd still feel like I got to get a jab in about this guy to somebody else, who else it affected. And I know God's right there. He's like, hey, not cool, dude. That's a party foul. And I could help it, but I didn't want to. I did that a couple times. But hey, progress. But I kept, finding other stuff that would just get under my skin, because I want to take pride in my work, and I especially expect my supervisors to take pride in their work. If I got to answer to them, I shouldn't be doing a better job than they are. And every once in a while, I'd see something, I'd start just getting a little irritated about it. Breathe in, count to 4. Breathe out, count to 4. And I take it to God again. It's like, hey, we talked about this. Focus forward. I said, that sounds easy. How come it's been so hard? I don't know. Really don't. I don't have an excuse other than I was just being completely oblivious to how thoroughly selfish I was being. And I haven't spent much time with church people, around church or church people. And every once in a while, I put my ear to the ground, see how things are going. And sounds like exactly what was going on last time I checked, which was exactly what was going on the last time I checked a few months before that. And then just having more of an outsider's perspective of church, of a lot of different churches, especially from non-theists. I don't know if they're atheists or whatever. People aren't Christians. Getting more of their perspective, just reading more about their frame of mind, and I really enjoyed it. It was one epiphany after another, especially when you're able to look at that stuff with God helping interpret things. I came across one article. It was about this. Well, the author was a woman. I don't know how old she was, but she said when she was a teen, she struggled with bulimia, and she was part of this church, and she took it up with a youth pastor. And so a youth pastor and somebody else, I think, that was involved in the church, they ended up having one of those churchy little sit-downs with her. They're both on one side of the table, and then she's on the other side being mentored. And they talked about the dangers of bulimia and how it's unhealthy and blah, 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 self-image. And at the end, they prayed. And then sent her on her way because they prayed in faith. So surely the Lord has heard them. Went home, still struggled with bulimia. Still dealt with it. Issues got worse. Other issues tagged along. But finally, she just gave up on church, on religion, found acceptance where people weren't so judgmental. And then I think she ended up becoming some kind of counselor, psychiatrist, something like that, and talking to several other people with similar experiences, not necessarily bulimia, but some kind of personal flaw or shortcoming or insecurity that only got exacerbated when they tried to incorporate God and church into it, or incorporate God through church, through religion into it. And she just, the more people she talked to, she realized this was actually a really, really widespread thing. And she just, I think she was the one that coined it, called it religious trauma syndrome. And she pulled out example after example after example of people that have just been broken by people playing church in the name of God. And then sticking my ear to the ground now and hearing a lot of the same stuff that just seems to cater to this Jesus subculture and this weird paranoid worldview. I don't know what that has to do with God. If God is an overcomer, what's persecution really? Not being liked because you're being a tool about how you represent God? Because you don't know God, but you're doing what you think you're supposed to for God? I don't do these for church people, so I don't want any church people getting offended about it. Just because I don't want to get in the habit of making a religious mindset comfortable. I would rather be too hard on myself, set the standards too high with God, than just make up excuses and talk about how great things are going to be one day without really doing anything in and of myself to activate the greatness, to attain it one day. I mentioned before I started running. I was so out of shape at first. I felt like I need a walker, and then I got to where I was doing it 2, 3, 4 times a week, and then I would just up my routine, and then be sore again. I have to take a day or two off. And the end game for that is I want to be able to play soccer again. I want to be in soccer fitness. I want to have that kind of shape. I don't just run out to a soccer field and magically attain fitness. That some people it takes months, even for people in their prime sometimes. It's something you work towards. It's something you perfect, that you develop, not hemming and hawing around and hiding behind a circle of religious friends from God and from yourself, while you and friends go do good things in the name of ministry, and then still wonder, where's God? Where are these life-changing revelations that I was promised? Where's this constant peace, this constant comfort, this umbrella of love and protection? Where is that? I was promised that if I followed God, if I chased God. It kind of sucks hearing from so many people that used to be a part of a church, whether it was one of those weird fringe churches, like the kind of bizarre doctrine, or a mainline Baptist or whatever. They start out hearing all these promises about God, and then they start stepping out on it because they don't know any better. And then they get burned because they're trying to do it through somebody else's interpretation without knowing God. And then they start getting fed these crap excuses about why it didn't work from people that also don't know God but are pretending they do. It's not very, well, in a way, it's encouraging to see articles about how church attendance is consistently on the decline. Because at least then, people are tired of pretending. Puppy. At least then, they're tired of the games, jumping through hoops. You see dog's tail in the background. Hello. And they're just abandoning it altogether. But, man, you get to know God, you have His help, just building yourself from the ground up, just creating you, basically, solidifying you, cementing you, who you are as a person. These same people that bailed on church, they're still going to notice. They're still going to see that difference in somebody. The difference between somebody that plays church and somebody that just bums around with God. There's a kind of permanence about those people, a stability. And all these people that have been leaving church, they just got to give those ones a chance. They'll see a difference. They'll see who they wanted God to be the whole time, but couldn't see Him because of these people that kept getting in the way, whether they meant to or not. And it's heartbreaking now, right now, just to know that there is so much handicapping in the name of religion. But to be able to look ahead and believe I'm doing not my best, because that'd be a lie, but I'm doing all right, making progress with myself, with growing up, learning how to make a difference. And I have been able to be that kind of example for some people. And it's just, that's when you can just cozy right up with God and be like, hey, this was worth it, man. I was miserable there for a while. I want to say it was a couple of years, up and down. But that's in the past. Look what I've been able to get from you now, from it. Hey, come here with that toy. Look what I've been able to get. Look what God has been able to build in me. Because I didn't have anywhere to hide. Because I didn't want to settle for games just because I was being insecure. I wanted God, not a circle of friends that made me feel better about myself, that made me feel like I had a home. Man, that was an awful, awful time in my life. But I learned then, no matter how many times I want to look somewhere else for comfort, God's always going to be right there. Always. Doesn't seem like too many people in church give God enough of a chance. They just run and hide behind their circle of friends and quote the Bible to each other and talk about, oh, this pastor changed my life. Okay, you're going to say the same thing next year when I see you? And the year after that? And the year after that? Because that's what you've been doing for 5 or 10 years. Why don't we just cut the crap and figure out that we're the one that needs to be changed despite our insecurities and our own comforts, our own emotions. One thing I have really enjoyed, just around people at work, and a lot of them are just church burnouts that just found a different group to chill with, to grow up with, to learn to define themselves with, to be part of a collective in. They aren't judgmental. And they do just embrace diversity, whether it's godly or not. You hear divisive Christian articles. You see less of that out in the world. As divisive as that sounded. You talk about the LGBTQ community, lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual, and questioning community. They're a lot more open and accepting and welcoming than most of the churches I've been to. Most of the ones that are trying to stick it out with God, which is disturbingly backwards. Hard to wonder why church attendance is in the decline with attitudes like that. They seem to put the sin in front of the person and then use that sin as some kind of eyeglass into who the person is. When people are just still going to be people. If you don't give them a reason to get closer to God, either God's going to manage to find somebody else that will, or these people are just going to keep wandering off. And then you'll have to find a real good answer for God for why I didn't give them a chance. Not a place I want to be. That's kind of where I was at with that guy this morning. God's like, hey, is he going to suck tomorrow? I don't know, but there seems to be a trend. God's like, hey, you want to be a catalyst for his change? Not really. I'd be okay with just never seeing him again, God. I just be completely honest. That kind of answer is just not going to fly with that, with God. Especially when you start getting a real grasp of what he went through even before he had to start putting up with you, with me. What he went through just for a chance to put up with any one of us. So that's something I've been slowly coming around to accept. Is just being cool with this guy instead of treating him the way he treats his job. Kind of like crap. So, as much of a curse word as it is in religious communities, it's an evolution. I don't want to stop growing and developing and evolving towards God. I don't want to stop comparing myself to Jesus. I don't want to be too afraid to see where I keep falling short. I don't want to be too comfortable to change where I keep falling short. I don't want to be so embedded in my self-perceived identity that I don't want to change, or that I don't see where I'm falling short. I never want to be that proud. All these people, all these Bible thumpers read the Gospels, talk about what a horrific thing it was for Jesus to be crucified. And then they'll get on these caustic, toxic political bandwagons. And then go back through and read the Gospels again. Think what a horrific thing that crucifixion was, without realizing what they're doing is just setting themselves up to be in the same boat of the people that crucified Jesus. All these people waving palm branches and setting their coats down in front of them, whatever. When he was coming into Jerusalem, they thought he was going to turn superhuman or something, turn into Superman, like a little Jewish Superman. Came to free them from Rome. And patience started wearing thin. Turned on him. We talk about how religion put him up on the cross without realizing how much of that religion is still inside of us. Yeah. Getting close to God ain't always a pretty thing. But that's why why humility is such an important trait. Even if it's just being humble with God at first, because you got nothing to hide from him anyway. That's all you need to start with. Doesn't matter where we were yesterday. Doesn't matter. I was driving to work this morning, right? And it's just about pitch black, raining real hard, storms, lightning going off. And all of a sudden this branch just shows up right in the middle of the road. I try and brake. Not going to brake in time because the road's wet. I try and go around it, but it covers the whole road. And end up just kind of running over it. So I got to back up, get it out from underneath my car, and finally drive around it, because running over it kind of shifted it off the road in one lane. And then there was still a chunk stuck in my car somewhere. I could hear it. I was close to work, though, so I just drove to work and then looked. There was a stick stabbed right through my fog light cover, and it was sticking out, 4 inches or something, not too bad. So I pull it out thinking it's just, a little twig. I keep pulling. There's like 2.5, 3 feet to it. Where was this? I didn't see it underneath the car. What? Guess I'll find out on the drive home if it did any damage. It didn't. Already ordered a fog light cover. Just got to glue a piece back together. It split, and that's the worst of it. That was another thing, though. God's like, hey, what happened happened. I was like, God, that ain't good enough for me. Where? Clearly I missed it somewhere, because you were warning me about it, and I was just being ignorant. And I kept drawing a blank, and I kept drawing a blank. But I just kept thinking about it, because I didn't want to just, I don't know, God didn't say anything to me about it. And then finally I just kept playing over the whole morning in my mind. And about, I just gotten out of my neighborhood, maybe 2-3 minutes out of the neighborhood. And this thought came up, hey, use a toll road. Well, of course I reasoned it away. Well, that's stupid. It's a weekday. It's not going to be busy. It's pitch black, and I'm not running behind on time. I'm just going to take the back road. It'll be fine. So instead of costing like, I don't know, 60, 70 cents, it cost like $30 for that fog light cover. Oh well. Gotta look ahead. What's done is done, and I learned my lesson, not to dismiss every thought so fast. It seems like a stupid thought right away. But we got to start somewhere if we're going to move forward. Can't just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. God's coming. God's already where you need to be, and he's trying to help you get there. I'm glad that the moderators of this video, of the website, that they filter emails. I guess I've already gotten a couple of pieces of hate mail about it. But hey, I'm doing my best to stick with God too. I just don't want to be another spineless Christian statistic and then wonder why nobody wants to be a part of God. Because all they do is see Christians just turn the other cheek, just being everybody else's doormat in the name of love. You read the Gospels with an open mind, you'll see Jesus wasn't everybody's doormat. There towards the end, when he knew what was coming, he knew it was time. Yeah. But up till then, he dictated the terms. He was on this cliff. Everybody was going to stone him. He just kind of chills. Walks right through him. There's times he hid from him, which those kind of times. And then I think it was Isaiah that said Jesus was average looking guy. He wasn't some supermodel. That we would even really look twice at him. Be like, that is quite the handsome man. He was just a regular, probably squatty little Jew. And we got this weird celebrity complex about who he was. But finally getting to know God and how all right he is with getting underestimated. I don't think he really cared what Jesus looked like. He had to look like a human and to fit in somehow. But he'd have to have a chiseled jaw and a high cheekbone and a full, thick, flowing head of hair. He's like, hey, you're just going to fit the stereotype. Here's what you're going to do with life. We're going to walk through this and you're going to make a difference. Hard to really embrace insecurities. You're not going to hide anything from God. And He's already seen you at your worst. He's just trying to help you keep anybody else from seeing you like that. That's really His primary goal for a lot of people. And everybody's like, no, I can't deal with this. I don't want this out in the open. And God's like, dude, it's just you and me. Everybody's like, no. God's like, all right, I'll be here if you change your mind. I'll check in here again soon. And stuff gets exposed, whether it's because we sit on it too long or start getting judgmental of other people with the same issue or whatever. That's another perk to learn how to be a little more gracious towards people. I don't want people to know how much I still suck at things. Unless it's on my terms, I can talk about how I struggled this morning, and it was a deep, righteous struggle. I don't want people following me around with cameras 24/7 yet. When we get to that point, you start calling me Jesus Jr. Until then, give me a couple hours away from everybody. I just want my space. I want to be left alone. Don't have that much grace yet. Yeah. So, I guess I just got frustrated with all these good, educated, godly Christians, just like role model people that keep catering to this cesspool of a church subculture. They keep compromising to get their message across to these church people. When, if they know God, they don't really have much excuse. Well, if they talk about how saved they are, how wonderful and fulfilling their relationship with God is, they really got no excuse for needing to be talked down to like that. For needing a consistently dumbed down message. I mean, yeah, we all got to start somewhere. I look back on when I first moved to Tulsa, even where I was 1, 2, 3, 5 years ago. I was a lot dumber then than I am today. But we're supposed to be growing up. Somebody's supposed to meet us where we are and then bring us up. And then we keep going up. God keeps bringing us up. God never planned on just constantly having to go down to the same level for the same people all the time. And God's got some things to say to those people. But it ain't quite time yet. At least not for me to say them. Yeah. But that was, yeah. Okay. So when I was learning how to just let God be my emotional safety net, I didn't have people really that I felt comfortable enough to turn to, people that I trusted to the extent that I needed to trust to be able to open up with some things. I just had God. You're my last resort. I dealt with a lot of loneliness then. talk about the importance of fellowship within the church. Yeah, but not if we have to compromise at the most elementary level. I would rather just keep moving on by myself, and I'll find somebody eventually. That's kind of, I just deal with loneliness. I just, God, where's everybody? And God kept taking me back to, I think it was Romans, when Paul was referencing Elijah. So Elijah skips town. He's hiding out. He's like, God, everybody's trying to kill me. This kind of sucks. God's like, hey, not everybody, man. I saved 7,000 people. Their heart is still in the right place. They have not given in. They're still on my side. You just can't see them yet. You haven't seen them yet. And that was that turned into one of my lights at the end of the tunnel. Even if the tunnel seemed like it was going on for a long, long time, it was just one of those, God told me there's going to be other people like this. There's going to be other people. I don't have to settle for other people now. I don't have to settle for these people. I'm going to find people with the same kind of mindset, with the same kind of fire. I'm going to find people that don't want to compromise and don't put up with crap in the name of religion, in the name of church, in the name of love. I'm going to find these people eventually. I just got to stick it out until I do and learn how to cope. Not a very popular thing for people to embrace, seems. At least I haven't seen too many people in my circle embrace it. I mean, you gotta figure, dude, there's, I don't know how many billions of people on this planet. Surely, somewhere, somehow, in this big mass, there is at least one person with the same kind of mindset. Somewhere. And my thought, when I finally established that and got that settled in myself, was, if there's somebody like me struggling to find somebody else with the same kind of mindset, I feel like I'd be doing them an injustice if I gave up, if I just stopped, if I just settled for playing church just because that's all these people around me are doing. Well, I don't want that. I don't want them to do that. Yeah, guess I'll keep going. So I did. No, man, there's some days I just get so lost in thought and just hanging out with God. I go just about whole days without even talking. Don't even notice it. I'm just so lost in a good way. I mean, I'm still aware of what's going on where I am. Like, there's one day I was with some friends of mine. We were going door to door after a storm, just asking if people needed help, knew anybody that did. And we were taking turns. When it wasn't my turn, I was just, they were all having a conversation, enjoying themselves. I was just kind of in my own head. Not like Unabomber kind of in my own head. Not like that. Just happy thoughts with God. And then finally, I don't know how many hours went by. Like, dude, you okay? I mean, you're just sitting there. You haven't said a thing. I didn't even notice it. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know yet. We'll find out. We'll see. But I do know, given a real chance and not one of those stupid, shallow, half-hearted religious chances, God's the best friend you're ever going to have. No matter what. He's not the one that gives up first and then starts gossiping about how things just didn't work out, things failed. That's not how this works. He's still there waiting for you to straighten out. Come back and be like, hey, where did we leave off? And every once in a while, he'll send you a little love note. Hey, thinking of you. remind you, still just waiting. So that's where I've been. I guess that's a good enough summary. I just kind of got tired of religion and just pushed away from the table altogether. Like, hey God, I don't want to not be holding your hand, but let's do some exploring. Let's not just wander around what's already been explored over and over and over and over and over and over and talked about and reiterated and emphasized and repeated and argued about. Why don't we just go do something, God? I just don't want to lose track of you. That was one of my biggest concerns there for a while. Just kind of floating away from people, learning who I am, And I didn't want to wander so far away that I ended up being wrong, falling victim to some kind of weird theology or doctrine, and then just thinking God's in some kind of toxic drink, and I will join him in the clouds with one sip. Keep your heart in the right place. Keep holding God's hand. You ain't got to worry about it. I mentioned earlier how regimented I was for a long time. And I was in kind of a transition period here in town. A friend of mine was just starting a business about 8 hours south of us. And I got to be pretty close to him when I worked with him up here. And he kept encouraging me, man. He's like, hey, man, I know I can trust you. You want a job here? We'll make it take off. Because we've done a couple other things together, and it was turned into some good opportunities. And, I was in this transition period, and I was just, man, that sounds, I'd love to get away from here, just get a fresh start somewhere. Talk to Carrie about it. And she kind of said, but she ended up just kind of playing along reluctantly. And then a couple friends, not real close friends, just people I had done some volunteer stuff with. They pulled me aside, like, hey, this ain't God. But I wanted it to be. It ain't God. But I was putting all my eggs in this basket. It ain't God. But you're right. I think that was probably about the farthest I managed to get. And wouldn't you know it, God sent somebody to straighten me out. Like God said, he's got 7,000 that haven't bowed to Baal. Surely one of them will find you if you start finding the fringe of where you're supposed to be. God knows what he's doing. We're just too quick to jerk our hand away and run off in the other direction. And blame him for all these problems. If I was driving to work and took the turnpike like I had that thought, it wouldn't have been an issue. I didn't. So I'm going to blame God for not telling me when all I did was just completely, quickly, almost thoughtlessly disregard when he was trying to get it across to me. I'm going to blame God because I'm too proud, too pretentious, too uptight. Surely it's not my fault I did something wrong. I'll blame this on God. He's a wonderful scapegoat. Those times are coming to an end. Just like my time. Anyway, all right. We'll see. I don't know when I will grace the screen again. Probably in a couple of weeks. I don't know what day. I don't know what time. I'll figure something out though. Because I have missed doing this. And I'm glad I got a filter for hate mail. Anyway, love you guys, and peace.